If your life doesn't feel right anymore, maybe it's time to stop fixing the surface and start changing the direction. This year is not about doing more, it's about doing what matters. If 2025 left you feeling tired, disconnected, or like you were living everyone else's life but your own, this is your moment to stop and reset. It's time to reset, restart, and refocus in 2026 is not about hype, it's about honesty. It's about realizing you don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to be real with where you are and where you want to go. You're allowed to pause. You're allowed to let go of what's draining you. You're allowed to change how you show up. This audiobook will help you clear the noise in your head, stop repeating patterns that don't serve you, and finally, focus on what actually makes your life feel meaningful. This is your fresh start, no pressure, just purpose. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Reset your life by clearing mental clutter. In 2026, more than ever, people are waking up with one thought circling in their heads: something needs to change. And it's not always about chasing big goals or starting new projects. Sometimes, the most powerful change begins with a reset. A personal, deep reset. One that clears the mind and brings you back to a place where you can think straight, feel lighter, and actually live with purpose. The truth is, your life can't change until your mind is ready to hold that change. You can't build peace on top of chaos. You can't grow forward if your thoughts are stuck in reverse. That's why this reset starts by clearing the mental clutter that's been piling up quietly, daily, and without permission. What is mental clutter? It's the noise in your head that never stops. It's the overthinking before bed, the guilt over what you didn't do, the conversations you keep replaying, the things you tell yourself you should have said or should have done differently. It's the pile of to-dos in your mind that you never get to. It's the constant comparison with people who aren't even part of your life. It's the worry about things you can't control. That's mental clutter, and it drains your focus, your energy, and your happiness. Clearing it isn't about being perfect or being positive all the time. It's about making space. Space to think clearly. Space to feel your emotions without drowning in them. Space to finally hear your own voice instead of everyone else's. And the moment you start making that space, you begin to reset your life not just on the outside, but from the inside out. The first step in this reset is awareness. You need to notice what's really going on in your mind. Most people live in reaction mode. Wake up, check their phone, rush into the day, and never pause to ask, what's been weighing on me? What thoughts am I carrying that no longer serve me? You can't let go of what you haven't noticed. Sit down, breathe, pay attention to what keeps showing up in your head uninvited. Is it fear, pressure, regret? List it out if you have to. That's not weakness. That's the beginning of taking your power back. Once you've identified the mental clutter, the next step is to challenge it. Just because a thought shows up doesn't mean it's true. So many people are living under the weight of stories they never chose. Stories like, I'm not doing enough, I'm falling behind, or I'm not good at this. These thoughts get repeated so often they start to sound like facts, but they're not. They're beliefs that need to be questioned. Ask yourself, where did that thought come from? Who told me that? Is it helping me or hurting me? You don't have to believe every thought you think. You have a choice. Then there's emotional clutter, the feelings you've buried instead of facing. Many people carry sadness from years ago and never give themselves permission to feel it. They carry anger they never expressed, shame they never talked about. These emotions don't disappear. They stay in your system and they cloud your clarity. They show up as anxiety, low energy, or numbness. Clearing emotional clutter means learning to feel things honestly, without labeling yourself as weak or dramatic. Feeling is not failing. Feeling is healing. Give yourself time to sit with these emotions, and you'll notice they start to loosen their grip. Another way to reset is to simplify. A cluttered mind often reflects a cluttered life. Too many commitments, too many tabs open, too much information. Every day, you're bombarded with notifications, messages, headlines, updates, and your brain doesn't get a break. No wonder it feels overwhelmed. You need to simplify what you consume and how much you say yes to. Ask yourself, what actually matters right now? What do I need to stop giving energy to? Every time you say yes to something meaningless, you're saying no to something that could change your life. Protect your mental space like it matters, because it does. The reset also involves unfinished business. We all have things we've put off, hard conversations, decisions we've been avoiding, tasks we started but never finished. These are open loops in your mind, and they take up more energy than you think. Every time you avoid something, your brain keeps it on a loop. Don't forget this, don't forget that, and you're never really free. You don't need to finish everything today, but pick one thing and close the loop. Take the first step. Clarity is built through action, not just thinking. It's important to talk about boundaries too. Mental clutter often comes from taking on things that aren't yours to carry. Other people's problems, expectations that don't belong to you, social pressure. You need boundaries to protect your peace. Saying no is not being rude, it's being clear. You're not here to fix everyone or meet everyone's standards. You're here to live a life that feels right for you. And that requires giving yourself permission to choose what you allow into your space, mentally and emotionally. Another part of clearing mental clutter is building a new rhythm. The way you start your day matters. The way you end it matters. Are you starting the day already stressed, already behind, already overwhelmed? Or are you taking time to ground yourself, even just for a few minutes? A reset means creating small daily habits that help your mind stay clear. This could be journaling, walking, stretching, breathing, or simply sitting in silence. It doesn't need to be fancy. It needs to be real. Consistency is what brings results. You also have to recognize that resetting your mind doesn't mean you'll never struggle again. It means you'll notice when things are off, and you'll know how to come back. It means you'll no longer ignore yourself when something feels wrong. You'll pause, reflect, adjust. That's real progress, not perfection, but awareness and action. In this reset, one of the most important things to embrace is honesty. Be real with yourself. Don't pretend you're fine when you're falling apart. Don't smile on the outside if your thoughts are screaming on the inside. Speak the truth to yourself. Say, I'm overwhelmed. I feel lost. I'm tired. That's not giving up. That's the beginning of taking your life seriously. Once you tell the truth, you can change the story. This is what it means to reset your life by clearing mental clutter. It's not about a fresh start that erases your past. It's about a present decision to stop living buried under thoughts and emotions that don't help you anymore. It's about creating space for focus, peace, and direction. It's about learning how to hear your own voice again and trust it. You don't need to wait for a perfect time. You don't need anyone's permission. You just need to begin, not with everything, but with one decision. One clear moment where you say, I want my mind to be a place I can live in, not escape from. That one choice is enough to change everything that comes next. This year, you don't need a bigger goal. You need a clearer mind. That's where all the change begins. Right here, right now, with the space you choose to create in your own thoughts. This is your reset. Make it real. Make it personal. Make it yours. Chapter 2. Restart with honest reflection on last year. Before anything new can begin, you need to be real about what just ended. You can't build a better year on top of silence, avoidance, or pretending things were fine when they weren't. There's no real progress without real reflection, and reflection doesn't mean judging yourself or going over every mistake like it's a punishment. It means looking back honestly, clearly, and without excuses. It means facing last year as it actually was, not how you wish it had been, and not how you've tried to forget it. This isn't about being hard on yourself. It's about choosing growth over comfort. Most people skip reflection because it's uncomfortable. They think if they just move faster, start something new, get busy again, they won't have to face the truth. But when you avoid the truth, you carry it with you. It doesn't disappear, it hides in your decisions, your habits, your self-talk. It shows up in how quickly you give up, how easily you doubt yourself, how often you feel stuck. That's why restarting the right way means pausing first, looking back with clear eyes, asking yourself what really happened in the last 12 months. Start by asking, what did I give most of my time to last year? Not what you planned to do, not what you said you'd focus on. What actually took your energy? Be honest. Was it work you didn't enjoy? A relationship that drained you? Scrolling endlessly just to escape? Or maybe you spent the year helping everyone else while your own goals were collecting dust. Wherever your time went, your life followed. If it didn't lead you somewhere better, that matters. Not to shame you, but to show you what to change. Next, ask, what patterns repeated? Life is not random. If you felt anxious, disconnected, or tired all the time, that came from somewhere. Maybe you overcommitted. Maybe you stayed in comfort zones too long. Maybe you avoided hard conversations. Whatever it was, name it. Growth only starts when you stop blaming the year and start noticing your part in it. Again, not to punish yourself, but to take responsibility. When you take responsibility, you take your power back. You stop being a victim of the year and start becoming the leader of the next one. Reflection also means facing your wins. And not just the big ones. Sometimes the biggest growth hides in quiet victories no one else saw. Maybe you got out of bed on the hard days. Maybe you stood up for yourself in ways you never did before. Maybe you slowed down and finally learned how to breathe. Maybe you let go of something that hurt for too long. Those moments matter just as much as any milestone. Don't skip them. You're not only defined by what you achieved, you're also defined by what you overcame. Now, think about what you avoided, the decisions you delayed, the conversations you were afraid to have, the risks you talked yourself out of. These are important. They tell you where fear still has a grip on you. Restarting doesn't mean carrying those fears into a new year like luggage. It means looking at them and deciding if they're really worth holding on to. Most of the time, the fear isn't as powerful as you imagined. It only feels big because it's been sitting in the dark. Bring it into the light, call it out, and decide to move anyway. Take time to look at your relationships, too. Who helped you grow? Who supported your peace? Who made you question your worth? These questions are hard, but they shape everything. The people around you influence your thoughts, your focus, your energy. If someone consistently made you feel small, you need to ask why you kept letting them in. If someone inspired you, remind yourself to bring them closer. You don't need a huge circle, you need a strong one. Reflection helps you rebuild your environment on purpose, not by default. Now ask yourself, what did you learn about your limits? Did you stretch yourself or stay safe? Were you growing or were you just busy? There's a difference between movement and progress. One can leave you exhausted, the other leaves you stronger. The goal isn't to do everything, It's to do what matters. Reflecting on your limits means checking whether you lived aligned with your values or whether you were chasing other people's definitions of success. If the pressure came from outside you, it's time to shift. Start building a life that feels right from the inside. As you reflect, don't just list what went wrong. Ask what it taught you. Every failure is a teacher. Every delay is a message. Every disappointment has something to show you. You don't grow just from what went well. You grow from how you responded when things didn't. Did you blame others or look inward? Did you shut down or reach out? Did you hide or speak up? These moments define who you become next. If you're willing to reflect without defense, you'll gain insight most people never have. Think about your habits. What became automatic last year? Did you default to comfort every time things felt hard? Did you fall into endless distraction when life got stressful? Or did you build small actions that moved you forward? Restarting is not about big dramatic shifts. It's about noticing where your default settings are taking you. Are they building the life you want, or keeping you stuck in the one you're trying to outgrow? That question matters more than any New Year's resolution. Reflection must also include self-honesty about effort. You know when you gave your best. You also know when you coasted. This isn't about perfection. But if you want more out of life, you have to stop lying to yourself. If you only tried when things felt easy, you weren't really committed. If you gave up every time results were slow, you weren't really serious. That's not criticism, that's clarity. And clarity is the foundation of a strong restart. Now take all of that, your wins, your mistakes, your patterns, your lessons, and decide what's worth carrying forward. Not everything belongs in your next chapter. Some things were only meant to teach you. Some people were only meant to pass through. Some habits were survival, not strategy. You don't need to hold on to who you were just because you're used to it. Restarting means choosing again. And this time, you choose based on what you know now, not what you knew before. This kind of reflection takes courage. It takes stillness. It takes the willingness to face your year without filters or edits. But once you do, you gain something powerful. Awareness. You understand your own story better. You stop blaming time. You stop chasing random goals. You stop repeating the same cycle. And most importantly, you move into the new year awake, not on autopilot. 2026 doesn't care about hype. It doesn't care how motivated you feel on day one. It cares about alignment. It cares about who you're becoming. And who you're becoming depends on what you've learned from where you've been. You don't need to rush. You don't need a perfect plan. You need truth. And that starts with honest reflection. This year, don't just reset your goals. Reset your relationship with your past. Don't avoid what happened. Understand it. Accept it. Learn from it. Then leave behind what you don't need. You are not here to repeat the same version of your life. You are here to live it better. Start by being honest. Start by looking back so you can finally move forward. Chapter 3. Refocus daily on what truly deserves attention. Most people lose focus, not because they're lazy or unmotivated, but because they're overwhelmed by noise. In a world filled with distractions, staying locked into what really matters is not easy. You wake up with good intentions, but the moment your phone lights up, your energy is pulled in 10 different directions. Notifications, messages, endless updates, opinions you didn't ask for, and content that doesn't help you. It all competes for your mind before you've even had a chance to think clearly. This is exactly why learning to refocus daily is no longer a good habit. It's a personal necessity. If you don't choose where your attention goes, someone else will. If you don't protect your focus, you'll give your best energy to things that don't move your life forward. And then at the end of the day, you'll feel drained, frustrated, and unsure of what you even accomplished. That's not because you didn't try, it's because your mind was scattered. True focus begins by deciding what actually deserves your attention. Not what's loud, not what's urgent, not what everyone else is doing, what deserves it. You only get a limited amount of mental energy each day. You can't give it to everything. You have to make choices. That means getting honest with yourself about what really matters to your growth, your peace, and your future. The first step is identifying your top priorities, not your to-do list, but the parts of your life that matter deeply to you. Ask yourself, if I could only do a few things this year and do them well, what would they be? Be specific. It might be building your health back, restoring your confidence, rebuilding a strained relationship, or growing a skill you've been avoiding. Once you name these priorities, you have a foundation. Without that, every task feels the same, and every distraction feels important. Next, build a habit of checking in with yourself each morning. This doesn't have to be long or complicated. You just need a few quiet minutes to ask, what do I want to give my attention to today? What's important today? Not just what's urgent. This one habit can change your entire direction. Most people dive into the day without asking this, and by the time they stop to think, their time's already gone. That's not intentional living. That's survival mode. To refocus daily, you also need to manage how you respond to outside noise. Not everything that shows up in your world deserves a reaction. You don't have to reply to every message right away. You don't have to argue your point in every conversation. You don't have to scroll endlessly when you feel bored or tired. Attention is your most valuable asset. Don't spend it where it earns nothing in return. It helps to track where your attention is going. Every night reflect on how you spent your mental energy that day. Ask, what pulled me off track? What helped me stay grounded? What conversations drained me? What tasks gave me momentum? You'll start to see patterns. Certain apps, certain people, certain thoughts. They pull you away from the life you say you want. Noticing that is powerful. Once you see it, you can start shifting it. One major challenge is mental multitasking. Trying to do too many things at once might feel productive, but it actually breaks your focus. Your brain switches back and forth, losing energy each time. Instead of doing one thing well, you end up doing 5 things poorly. If something matters to you, give it your full attention. Even if just for a short time. Deep focus creates better results and deeper satisfaction. Another important part of daily refocusing is knowing your distractions. Not just the obvious ones like phones or TV, but the subtle one, overthinking, worrying about what others think, checking progress too often, comparing your journey to someone else's. These internal distractions are just as damaging. They steal your mental presence. You need to train your mind to come back to the task at hand. When you catch yourself drifting, don't criticize. Just redirect. Refocusing isn't about being perfect. It's about returning. You also need clarity on what's not important right now. You can't chase every opportunity. You can't say yes to everything. If everything matters, then nothing really does. Learn to say, not now. That's not quitting. It's choosing wisely. It's creating space for what actually moves you forward. Saying no to things that don't align gives you room to say yes to what does. A useful strategy is to set daily focus targets. Not long lists, just 2 or 3 things that matter most. If everything else gets delayed but those key things are done, that's a successful day. Over time, this trains your brain to stop chasing busyness and start building momentum. Focus isn't about doing more, it's about doing what matters with care and commitment. Protecting your mental environment is just as important as managing your tasks. If your space is always loud, if your schedule is always full, if your emotions are always tense,
it becomes harder to focus. Give yourself space to think. Create boundaries around your time. Limit meaningless input. You're not a machine. You need silence. You need breathing room. That's where focus grows strongest. Also, be mindful of what you feed your mind first thing in the morning and last thing at night. These are the most sensitive times for your attention. Start your day with purpose, not noise. End it with reflection, not distraction. The way you begin and end each day shapes the direction of everything in between. Refocusing daily isn't just about being more productive. It's about living with intention. It's about remembering who you want to become and choosing actions that move you closer to that version of yourself. It's about aligning your attention with your values. Every time you give your energy to something that matters, you reinforce that value inside you. It's also important to accept that some days will feel scattered. Some days, focus will be harder. That's normal. The goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is to practice. Every time you refocus, even after drifting, you're building mental strength. You're reminding yourself that your attention belongs to you, not to the world around you. When you learn to protect your focus, your days feel different. You stop feeling behind all the time. You stop wasting energy on what doesn't matter. You start seeing progress where it counts. You start feeling proud of how you show up, not just in your work, but in your life. This is how you take back your direction. This is how you make 2026 different. Not by trying harder, but by choosing better. Better focus. Better priorities. Better boundaries. You don't need more hours, you need more intention. With the hours you already have, what you focus on grows. What you ignore fades. What you choose daily becomes your life. So choose with care. Choose with courage. Choose what deserves your attention. And let the rest fall away. That's where your real power lives. In your ability to decide. In your willingness to return. In your daily choice to focus on what matters.
Chapter 4. Accept past choices without self-punishment. You made choices last year. Some helped you grow. Some slowed you down. Some you're proud of. Some you wish you could erase. That's the truth of being human. You will not get every decision right. You will not avoid every mistake. And that's not a problem. The real problem begins when you carry those choices into the future with shame, guilt, and constant self-blame. That's what keeps people stuck. Not the past, but how they hold it. Accepting your past doesn't mean you agree with everything that happened. It means you stop fighting what you can't change. You stop beating yourself up for who you were. You stop replaying moments like they owe you something. The past is over. What's left is what you do next. And you can't build something strong when your energy is tied to regret. Self-punishment is silent. It doesn't always show up as dramatic breakdowns. It looks like doubting yourself every time you try again. It feels like holding back from new chances because you messed it up before. It sounds like that inner voice that tells you you're too late, too broken, too far behind. That voice grows when you let old decisions define your worth. You need to separate your choices from your identity. Just because you made a bad decision doesn't mean you are bad. Just because you waited too long to act doesn't mean you're hopeless. Your past actions were based on what you knew, what you felt, and where you were at the time. Some of those choices were made from fear, some from confusion, some because you didn't believe you had other options. That's not weakness. That's experience. And experience can teach you, if you let it. Reflection is useful. Obsession is not. Ask yourself what the past was meant to teach you, then carry that lesson, not the guilt.
If a relationship ended, maybe it taught you how to set boundaries. If you failed at something, maybe it showed you where you needed structure. If you stayed stuck too long, maybe it helped you recognize what settling feels like. The lesson is valuable. The punishment is not. It's easy to think that punishing yourself makes you more responsible, that if you stay angry at yourself, you'll do better next time. But that's not how growth works. You don't improve by hating who you were. You improve by understanding it happened and choosing differently. Shame is heavy. It doesn't lead to action. It leads to hiding. You don't need to hide anymore. Sometimes people avoid forgiveness because they think it means excusing what happened. But forgiving yourself isn't about saying it was okay. It's about saying I've learned, I've grown, and I will not keep reliving the same pain. It's about allowing yourself to move forward without carrying a weight that no longer belongs to you. If you're carrying a choice like a punishment, it's time to put it down.
8.
By naming what you're still holding. What memory still makes your stomach sink? What decision do you keep thinking about late at night? What version of yourself do you avoid talking about? Bring it into the open. Not to relive it, but to face it without fear. When things stay in the dark, they grow in power. When you speak them honestly, they lose control over you. Then ask yourself, who were you at that time? What pressures were you under? What didn't you know yet? You'll start to see that many of your past choices came from survival, not clarity. You did what you thought was right in that moment. Maybe it wasn't your best, but maybe it was your best under stress, confusion, or fear. That matters. Context matters. Compassion matters. Moving on also means changing the story you tell yourself. If the story is I always mess things up, you'll live your life proving that. If the story is I should have known better, you'll stay frozen in guilt. Instead, try saying, I've made mistakes, but I've learned from them. I've made progress even if it was slow. I'm still growing. That's not denial. That's power. That's truth. You have to believe that you're allowed to grow, not just when everything goes well, but especially when it doesn't. Every person you admire has failed. Every strong person has regrets. Every confident person had to rebuild their self-trust. They didn't get there by being perfect. They got there by refusing to be defined by their worst moments. You can do the same. Let yourself grieve if you need to. Some choices cost you people, time or energy you'll never get back. It's okay to feel that. Don't skip the pain, but don't get lost in it either. Grieving means you care, but healing means you're ready to start living again. And healing begins when you stop punishing yourself for not knowing what you didn't know. There's a better way to look at your past. Instead of asking, why did I do that? Ask, what did I need at that time? Maybe you needed love, or clarity, or rest, or guidance. When you meet your past self with curiosity instead of blame, something shifts. You stop being the enemy of your own growth. You start becoming your own guide. You don't need to pretend the past didn't happen. You don't need to rewrite it. You only need to stop reliving it as if you're still there. You're not. You're here. And right now you get to choose what happens next. You can stay stuck in a story of regret, or you can write a new chapter with the strength you've gained. The most freeing moment in life is when you realize you're allowed to forgive yourself. You're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to start again. And none of that requires punishment. It only requires honesty and a willingness to grow. You've carried the weight long enough. You've replayed the moments too many times. You've talked yourself down more than anyone else ever has. Now it's time to stop. Not because what happened doesn't matter, but because you do. This year is not asking you to be perfect. It's asking you to be present, to show up for yourself, without dragging old shame into every decision, to move forward with clarity, not fear, to learn from the past, not live in it. Accepting past choices isn't giving up, it's growing up. It's saying, I'm not that version of me anymore, and I don't need to keep proving it through self-punishment. I prove it by how I live today. So start today, not with guilt, not with pressure, but with self-respect. You've come further than you think, and you're just getting started.
Chapter 5.
Rebuild trust in yourself through action. Most people don't realize the damage that happens when they keep breaking promises to themselves. It's subtle at first. You say you'll wake up early, but hit snooze again. You say you'll start eating better, but keep pushing it to tomorrow. You plan to finish that project, but avoid it for another week. These choices may feel small, but they add up, and they start to erode something vital: your trust in yourself. Self-trust is not built by saying the right things. It's built by doing them. If you don't believe your own words, you start to feel disconnected from who you are. You say things you don't follow through on, and over time your brain learns not to take yourself seriously. You stop setting real goals because deep down you've trained yourself to believe you won't follow through. That's not a lack of motivation, that's a lack of trust. But trust can be rebuilt, not by making big speeches or setting dramatic intentions, but by taking small, consistent actions every day. That's where self-trust begins again. In the quiet, in the simple, in the follow-through. Every time you do what you said you would, even when no one's watching, you send a message to yourself that you're dependable again. The first step is honesty. Not the kind you share with others, but the kind you sit with privately. Ask yourself, where have I been making promises I haven't kept? Where have I said one thing and done another? Not to shame yourself, but to get clear. Trust isn't built on perfection, it's built on alignment. When your words match your actions, even in small ways, you begin to repair the relationship with yourself. It's tempting to overcommit when you're trying to rebuild that trust. You want to make up for lost time. You tell yourself, starting tomorrow, everything changes. But that mindset sets you up for failure again. Big promises with no plan usually break quickly, and every time a promise breaks, trust weakens. Instead, focus on what's manageable. Pick one small thing you can do today, not 10, just one. Make it real. Make it doable. Then follow through. The size of the action doesn't matter as much as the consistency. Drinking 1 glass of water in the morning. Writing for 5 minutes. Walking for 10. Turning off your phone at a certain time. These aren't grand gestures, but they create evidence. And your brain needs evidence to believe you again. It needs to see that when you say you'll do something, you actually do. It also helps to stop talking so much about what you're going to do and start doing more. Talking can feel productive, but it can also be a way of delaying. Don't announce your comeback. Live it. You don't need validation, you need consistency. The people around you will notice when your energy changes. But more importantly, you'll notice, and that's the real goal, to look in the mirror and feel proud of who you are becoming. There's a quiet confidence that comes from keeping your word to yourself. It doesn't scream. It doesn't try to prove anything. It just feels steady. You walk differently. You speak with more certainty. You don't need outside motivation because you trust your own discipline. That kind of confidence can't be faked. It's earned, slowly, privately, daily. You also have to get clear about what matters to you. Many people break trust with themselves because they chase goals they don't actually care about. They follow trends. They set targets that impress others. But when the goal isn't aligned with your values, you won't stay consistent. And every time you walk away from it, you'll blame yourself, when the real issue was the goal itself. To rebuild trust, choose goals that mean something to you. Not to your family, not to social media, to you.
Self-trust grows when you stop judging yourself for starting small. People wait for the perfect plan, the perfect conditions, the perfect mindset, but that waiting kills momentum. Start with what you have, where you are, as you are. You don't need to be ready. You just need to be willing. Willing to take action, even when you're unsure. Willing to show up, even when you're tired. Willing to keep going, even when it feels slow. Progress is not always exciting. Some days will feel boring. Some days you won't want to do anything. That's normal. But discipline means doing what's needed, not just what's fun. And every time you push through a moment like that, your trust grows stronger. You're proving that you can count on yourself. Not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. Learn to celebrate follow-through more than outcomes. The result will come. But what really matters is the process. Did you do what you said you would? Did you stay honest with your effort? Did you show up even when no one noticed? That's what builds character. That's what builds belief. The outcome is just the bonus. The real reward is becoming someone you can rely on. You also need to forgive yourself for the times you didn't show up. You can't rebuild trust while holding on to old shame. What's done is done. Carrying guilt won't help you grow. Take responsibility, learn from it, then let it go. You're not meant to be perfect. You're meant to learn, and every setback can become part of your comeback if you're willing to keep moving. Remember that rebuilding trust takes time. You didn't lose it overnight, and you won't rebuild it overnight, but every action you take, every choice you make, every moment you stay committed, it adds up. It becomes your new pattern, your new standard, and over time, your new identity. There is something powerful about knowing that you no longer need to be rescued, that you're not waiting for the perfect moment, or the right feeling, or someone else to believe in you, that you've taken your life into your own hands. That's what rebuilding trust does. It reminds you that you are capable, dependable, and in control of what you become next. So start now. Choose one action. Keep it simple. Make it count. Show yourself that this time, it's different, not because you said so, but because you're proving it. Day by day, step by step, quietly, strongly, consistently. That's how trust is built, and that's how you become someone you can believe in again.
Chapter 6. Detach from distractions that steal your future. Most people don't lose their future to failure. They lose it to distraction. Not just the obvious ones like scrolling too long or watching things that don't matter, but the quiet distractions, the kind that look like staying busy but leave you empty. The ones that steal your attention little by little, day by day, until you realize months have passed and nothing has changed. Distraction doesn't always feel wrong. That's why it's dangerous. It feels normal. It feels like rest. It feels like just one more minute. But it becomes a pattern that slowly pulls your attention away from what matters. And without realizing it, your energy is scattered. Your mind is always half present. Your time gets spent, but not invested. And that kind of living steals your direction, your goals, and your peace. Detaching from distraction is not about removing everything from your life. It's about noticing what's costing you more than it's giving back. Every time you say yes to something that pulls you away from your purpose, you're saying no to something that could have moved your life forward. And most of the time we don't realize we're doing it, because the distractions are everywhere. In your phone, in your habit, in your conversations, even in your thoughts. Start by being brutally honest about where your time is really going. Not where you think it's going, but where it actually goes. Track it. Watch yourself for a few days. Pay attention to when you reach for your phone without a reason. Notice when you sit down to work and suddenly find yourself scrolling, clicking, switching tabs, losing focus.
It's not always about entertainment. Sometimes distraction shows up as overthinking, or worrying about things you can't control, or rehashing past arguments. That's distraction too, because while your mind is busy with what doesn't matter, your future sits untouched. Once you've seen the patterns, the next step is choosing different ones. But here's the part people skip. Detachment is not just about removing distractions. It's about replacing them with what matters. You can't just subtract. You need to redirect. If you don't fill the space with something meaningful, the distraction will come back. Not because you're weak, but because you're wired for stimulation. So give yourself better inputs. Decide what matters most to you right now, not 5 years from now, not someday. Right now. What's the part of your life that needs the most attention? Maybe it's your health. Maybe it's your focus. Maybe it's your peace. Write it down. Name it clearly. Then look at your daily habits and ask, are these helping me move closer to that, or pulling me away? Be honest. Clarity doesn't come from more thinking. It comes from honest observation and new choices. If your mornings are filled with noise, you're starting the day distracted. If your evenings are spent escaping into screens, you're ending the day numb. You have to create space for your mind to reset. That space is where focus lives. That space is where ideas come. That space is where your future is built. Not in chaos, but in quiet discipline. One of the biggest distractions people face today is comparison. Watching other people's lives, measuring your worth against their highlights. That is emotional distraction. It pulls your confidence apart. It makes you question your pace. It makes you forget your own goal. If you want to stay focused, you have to stop watching and start building. Turn down the noise and turn up your commitment to your own path. Another distraction is chasing too many things at once. Every opportunity, every invitation, every project. You think if you don't say yes to everything, you'll miss out. But the truth is, the more you say yes to, the more you divide your attention. And divided attention leads to diluted progress. You don't need to do more. You need to do what matters with full presence. Choose your focus. Defend it. Sometimes the distraction is internal. It's the fear of discomfort. The moment you sit down to do something meaningful, your mind looks for escape, because focus feels vulnerable. It demands effort. It reveals where you're lacking. But that's exactly why it's valuable. If you can sit through the discomfort without escaping it, you'll build the kind of strength that distraction can't touch. Detaching from distraction requires structure. You can't just rely on willpower. You need systems, clear time blocks, limits on technology, spaces for quiet, breaks for rest. You need to train your brain to stay where you are, not drift. And that's a practice. It's not a one-time fix. It's a daily decision to return, to come back to what matters every time your mind wanders. People talk about having more time, but time isn't the issue. Attention is. You can have a free hour and waste it in 10 ways, or you can have 20 focused minutes and move your life forward. Time isn't lost. It's traded. Every distraction you say yes to is a trade. You're giving away a piece of your future in exchange for a few seconds of relief. You have to decide if that's a trade you're still willing to make. When you start to protect your attention, things shift. You think clearer, you feel calmer, you work smarter, you rest deeper, because your mind is no longer stretched in every direction. It's rooted, and from that root, everything grows. Your goals, your peace, your creativity. It all depends on where your attention lives. You don't need to delete everything, or live like a monk. You just need to get real about what's costing you your focus, and you need to set limits. Not out of punishment, but out of respect. Respect for your future. Respect for your energy. Respect for your time. You deserve to experience what it feels like to be fully engaged with your own life. There's freedom in discipline, not restriction. Freedom. When you take control of your attention, you take control of your direction. You stop reacting and start creating. You stop drifting and start building. That's where power comes from. Not from doing everything, but from doing the right things fully. You will be tempted to go back to distraction, especially when things get hard. But remind yourself what's at stake. Your time is limited. Your energy is not endless. Your attention is not a toy. You have something to build. You have a future to create. And no amount of noise is worth losing that. Every day you wake up, you're making choices. Where your attention goes, what you feed your mind, who you listen to, what you focus on. These choices shape your habits. Your habits shape your life. And your life becomes the result of what you consistently give attention to. So choose wise. Turn off what steals from you. Turn toward what builds you. That's how you protect your future. That's how you take it back.
Chapter 7. Simplify goals to reduce mental pressure. Most people aren't overwhelmed because their goals are too big. They're overwhelmed because they're trying to chase too many things at once. They set 10 intentions, write down a long list of resolutions, and convince themselves that doing more will mean achieving more. But what really happens is the opposite. The brain becomes overloaded, the energy gets divided, and nothing gets done well. Instead of feeling motivated, you feel pressure. Instead of moving forward, you get stuck overthinking. And this pressure doesn't inspire, it paralyzes. When your mind is full of competing goals, it's like running in every direction at once. You waste time trying to decide where to start. You second-guess every step. You burn out from the mental load of constantly switching focus. Eventually you stop altogether, not because you're incapable, but because you're exhausted. That's not a motivation problem, it's a clarity problem. The solution isn't to push harder, it's to simplify, not because your dreams are too big, but because your process is too crowded. Simplifying goals means stripping away the noise, the fluff, and the extra expectation. It means getting real about what matters right now, not what sounds impressive, not what others are doing, not what you think you should do to keep up, just what actually matters to your growth, your peace, and your direction this year. Start by asking yourself what success would really look like in the next 30 days. Not the next 12 months. Not your 5-year plan. Just the next few weeks. What would progress actually feel like? What outcome would bring a sense of movement? You don't need 20 things. You need 1 or 2 that you can commit to fully. That kind of focus creates results. Scattered ambition doesn't. Once you know your short-term focus, cut away everything that doesn't directly support it. That means letting go of the pressure to say yes to every opportunity. That means admitting that now is not the time to fix everything at once. That means accepting that you can revisit some goals later, but right now your mind deserves rest from juggling it all. This isn't giving up, it's growing up. It's choosing structure over chaos. The truth is, complex goals don't make you more disciplined, they just drain your decision-making power. The more decisions you have to make in a day, the more tired your brain becomes. That's called decision fatigue, and it's real. By simplifying your goals, you reduce the number of choices you need to make. That frees up energy for execution. And execution is what builds confidence. A simplified goal is specific, time-bound, and connected to a clear reason. For example, instead of saying get in shape, say walk 20 minutes every morning for the next 3 weeks to increase energy. That's clear. That's doable. That has purpose.
When your goals are this focused, your mind doesn't resist them. It knows what to do next, and that makes action easier. Another benefit of simplifying your goals is that you start seeing results faster. You're no longer spreading yourself thin, waiting for something big to happen. You're stacking small wins, and those small wins matter. They create momentum. They rebuild trust. They remind you that progress is possible. Without that reinforcement, it's easy to quit before anything clicks. A major mistake people make is setting goals based on pressure instead of priorities. They feel like they need to catch up, prove something, or stay visible. But that kind of motivation burns out quickly. Real motivation comes from doing what feels aligned, not what feels forced. When your goals match your values, discipline becomes easier. You're not fighting your own instincts, you're moving with them. Take a hard look at your current list of goals. Which ones excite you? Which ones drain you? Which ones feel urgent but aren't actually important? Cross out anything that doesn't light a fire or serve your long-term direction. You don't owe your energy to every idea. You don't have to chase every good opportunity. Focus is freedom. A simplified goal should fit into your daily life without turning everything upside down. If the only way to reach your goal is through a perfect routine, it's not realistic. Life will get messy. You'll get tired. Plans will fall apart. That's why your goals need to be flexible enough to adjust and strong enough to keep you going. Build them around who you are, not an ideal version of you that only exists on your best day. Learn to celebrate completion over complexity. A simple goal that gets done beats a complicated one that stays unfinished. You don't grow by adding more. You grow by following through. If you said you'd write for 15 minutes and you did, that counts. If you planned a 30-minute workout and moved your body for 20, that's a win. These are the moments that move the needle. Stack enough of them, and you change your life. You also need to accept that you're allowed to change your goals as you go. Simplifying doesn't mean locking yourself into one idea forever. It means committing fully to a direction until you learn more. Sometimes what felt like the right path 2 months ago no longer fits. That's not failure. That's growth. Adjusting is part of the process. The key is not starting over every week. It's realigning with intention. If you want to feel less pressure, stop tying your worth to your goal. You are not a checklist. You are not your productivity. You are a person growing at your own pace. Goals are tools, not measurements of your value. Use them to guide your energy, not punish yourself for falling short. There is power in showing up consistently, even when progress feels small. Keep your system simple. One main focus per week, a short list of tasks each day, a quick review at night. Did I follow through on what matters? If not, why? What got in the way? How can I adjust tomorrow? This kind of structure creates clarity, and clarity reduces pressure, because the mind does better with direction than with doubt. At the end of the day, success is not about how much you take on, it's about how much you finish. The people who move forward aren't the ones with the most ambition. They're the ones who protect their focus. Simplify your goals. Stick with them long enough to see results. Let go of trying to do everything. Choose better, not more. Mental pressure comes from confusion. Simplicity brings peace. When you can wake up and know exactly what you're working toward, the day feels lighter. You don't have to overthink. You don't have to second guess. You move, you grow, you repeat. That's how real transformation happens. One simple goal at a time, followed by focused effort. Not flashy, not complicated, just consistent. So if you're tired of feeling overwhelmed, it's not because you're incapable, it's because you're trying to hold too much. Put some of it down, pick one thing up, do it well, then do it again. That's how you reduce pressure. That's how you find your rhythm. That's how you simplify your way to a stronger life.
Chapter 8. Practice emotional control during uncertain moments. When life becomes uncertain, emotions rise fast. Your heart races, your thoughts speed up, your decisions get shaky. It might be a crisis, a tough conversation,
an unexpected change, or simply a moment where things don't go the way you hoped. In those moments, it's not just what happens that shapes your future, it's how you handle yourself while it's happening. Practicing emotional control isn't about pretending you don't feel anything. It's about learning to respond with intention instead of reacting on impulse. Your emotions are not the problem, they're signals. They tell you something feels off, unsafe, unfair, or unfamiliar. They're trying to get your attention, but emotions become a problem when they take over completely. When anger speaks for you, when fear shuts you down, when anxiety drives you to avoid what needs to be faced. When you let emotions run the show, they often create more damage than the situation itself. That's why emotional control matters. It's the skill that helps you keep your power when everything around you feels unstable. It doesn't mean ignoring your feelings or bottling them up. It means giving yourself space to feel without letting those feelings control your behavior. You can be scared and still move forward. You can be frustrated and still stay calm. You can feel uncertain and still choose wisely. To build emotional control, you have to slow down your reaction time. Most people respond automatically, without thinking. Something stressful happens, and they explode, shut down, escape, or spiral. That's a habit, not a weakness. And like any habit, it can be changed. The key is to create space between the emotion and the response. That space is where your strength lives. When something triggers you, the first step is to pause. It sounds simple, but it's powerful. Take a deep breath. Step away if needed. Count to 5. These few seconds give your brain time to shift from survival mode to thinking mode. You don't need to fix everything in that moment. You just need to avoid making it worse by reacting too fast. Pausing helps you respond from a grounded place instead of an emotional high. Next, name what you're feeling. Don't just say "I'm stressed" or "I'm overwhelmed." Get specific. Are you feeling disappointed, rejected, disrespected, nervous? Naming your emotion helps your brain process it. It also reduces its intensity. You're no longer consumed by a vague sense of discomfort. You've identified what it is, and once you know what it is, you can decide what to do with it. Emotional control also requires you to stop personalizing everything. Not every bad moment is about you. Not every negative outcome is a reflection of your worth. When things don't go your way, it's easy to turn on yourself. You question your abilities, your decisions, your future. But most of the time, uncertainty is just part of the process, not a sign that you're failing. Learning to separate facts from feelings gives you the clarity to keep going when your confidence is shaken. One way to manage emotions during hard times is to focus on what's still within your control. Uncertainty often triggers fear because your brain hates the unknown. It starts imagining worst-case scenarios and spinning in worry. To stop that spiral, shift your focus. Ask yourself, what can I influence right now? Maybe you can't control the outcome, but you can control your effort. Maybe you can't predict what's next, but you can choose how you prepare. That shift brings your attention back to action, and action calms emotion. Build routines that support emotional strength before the hard moments come. That includes sleep, movement, connection, and quiet time. When your body is rested and your mind is cared for, you're more resilient. You think more clearly. You bounce back faster. People who handle pressure well don't wait for the crisis to build strength. They train for it daily, through consistent self-care and intentional habits. Another tool is perspective. Ask yourself, will this still matter in a week, in a month, in 5 years? This question helps you zoom out. When you're emotionally flooded, everything feels urgent and massive. But most of the time, it's not. Most of the time, it's just a moment. And if you can keep that in mind, the moment becomes easier to manage. Don't avoid your emotions. Learn to sit with them without letting them take over. Feelings like fear, sadness, and frustration are part of life. Trying to run from them only makes them louder. But when you sit with them calmly, breathe through them, and accept that they're temporary, they start to lose their grip. You realize you can feel hard things and still stay steady. Emotional control also means not letting other people's energy pull you off center. If someone else is angry, you don't have to match their anger. If someone else is panicking, you don't have to join them in chaos. You can choose to stay grounded. You can be the calm in the storm instead of another way. That kind of presence is powerful, not just for you, but for the people around you. Practice responding to discomfort with curiosity instead of judgment. Instead of saying, "Why am I like this?" ask, "What is this feeling trying to tell me?" Instead of saying, "I shouldn't feel this way," say, "It makes sense that I feel this. It's been a lot lately." Curiosity opens the door to growth. Judgment shuts it. Emotional maturity is built through kindness, not criticism. Your emotional strength isn't shown when everything is going smoothly. It shows up when things fall apart and you choose patience instead of panic. It shows when you're hurt, but you speak with clarity. It shows when you want to quit, but you take the next step anyway. Those moments are where growth happens. That's where self-trust is built. If you want to lead your life with purpose, you have to learn how to handle hard emotions without letting them drive your decisions. You have to become someone who doesn't fold under pressure, but learns from someone who knows how to keep moving without pretending everything is okay. That balance of feeling without falling apart is what creates stability in uncertain times. You are not weak because you feel deeply. You are not behind because you struggle. You are simply human. But emotional control is what allows your emotions to exist without letting them dominate. It gives you room to pause, think, adjust, and choose again. Every uncertain moment is a test, not of your ability to predict the future, but of your ability to stay steady inside the unknown. You don't need all the answers. You don't need to feel in control. You just need to keep showing up with calm effort and clear intent. Over time, this becomes your default. You learn to trust yourself in chaos. You learn to respond with calm even when your heart is racing. And when that happens, uncertainty loses its power over you, because now you're not reacting to it. You're moving through it with emotional control, with purpose, and with strength you've built one choice at a time.
Chapter 9. Design days that support long-term growth. A successful life is not built in bursts of energy. It's built in quiet, consistent days that most people overlook. That's why designing your day matters more than waiting for some big breakthrough. If you want long-term growth, you need structure. You need rhythm. You need to stop relying on motivation and start depending on your habits. What you do daily is more important than what you do occasionally. The big picture of your future is only possible if you start managing the small picture of your days. It starts with being intentional, not busy, not overwhelmed, not reacting to whatever shows up, but living with clear attention to what matters. This is not about perfection, it's about purpose. Your days should reflect the kind of person you're becoming, not just the kind of work you need to get done. The challenge is that most people don't plan their days, they react to them. They wake up already behind, chasing deadlines, checking phones, jumping into noise. Then they wonder why they feel lost, scattered, or stuck. Growth cannot thrive in chaos. It needs space. Designing your day means choosing what comes first. If you start your day with distraction, anxiety grows. If you start with intention, clarity follows. The way you spend your first hour sets the tone for the rest. You don't need a perfect morning routine, but you need a real one. Something grounded, something that brings you back to yourself before the world tries to pull you in every direction.
That might be stretching, walking, reading, journaling, reviewing your focus. It just needs to be something that reminds you who you are and what you're working toward. Once the day starts, decide what truly deserves your energy. Not every task is equal. Not every message is urgent. Not every request deserves a yes. Pick your top priorities, just 2 or 3, and protect them. These are the things that move your life forward. If you finish them, and nothing else, the day still counts. Growth happens when you give your best time to your most important work, not when you multitask everything and complete nothing with depth. You also need to build breaks into your day, not after burnout, but before. Your brain needs time to reset, and your body needs moments to breathe. Most people try to push through until they crash, but recovery is not optional if you want to be consistent. Take short pauses, step outside, drink water, look away from the screen. The more you respect your limits, the longer you'll last in this journey. Another key to designing better days is managing your digital life. Your phone is a tool, not a boss. If you start and end your day buried in content, it's no wonder your mind feels heavy. Turn off notifications when possible. Set time limits on apps that waste your attention. Choose moments of silence. Let your mind wander. That's where insight lives. That's where your next good idea comes from. You can't think clearly in a world of endless noise. Long-term growth also depends on doing the uncomfortable things first. The hard conversations, the focused work, the discipline you usually delay. If you keep pushing those things to the side, they turn into mental weight. You start the day carrying pressure that only grows. Flip the pattern. Do the hardest task early. Get it done. The relief and confidence that follow will give you fuel for the rest of your day. Your environment plays a role too. Design your space so it supports who you're trying to become. If your room is cluttered, your mind will reflect that. If your workspace is full of distractions, your focus will suffer. You don't need a perfect setup. You need one that helps you move, one that reminds you this is your time, and your future is shaped in this space. Don't forget to include movement. Your body is not separate from your mind. If you want mental clarity, you need physical energy. Even a short walk or a few minutes of stretching can reset your mood. Regular movement increases focus, reduces stress, and boosts creativity. Growth is not just mental, it's physical. Treat your body like it matters, because it does. At the end of the day, reflect. Don't just move on to the next task. Ask yourself, what worked today? What felt off? Where did I drift? What helped me stay steady? These questions are simple, but they build self-awareness. And that awareness becomes the foundation for better days. You learn what supports your energy and what steals it. You learn what kind of structure works for you, not someone else, not a trend, but you. Designing your day isn't about cramming more in. It's about removing what doesn't matter. Most people are overwhelmed not because they have too much to do, but because they haven't chosen what not to do. Every yes is a no to something else. Every commitment costs energy. Be selective. Be clear. You're not here to please everyone. You're here to grow. Growth doesn't need big dramatic effort. It needs small steps taken every day. Writing 1 paragraph, studying for 20 focused minutes, drinking more water, saying no when you usually say yes, waking up 15 minutes earlier. These tiny choices shape your progress more than grand plans that never get executed. Consistency will always beat intensity. Emotional energy is part of daily design too. You can't do deep work if you're always emotionally drained. Pay attention to who and what affects your energy. Protect your peace. Have boundaries around conversations, commitments and input. If something leaves you feeling heavy every time, address it. Growth requires emotional clarity. You can't keep growing while carrying emotional weight you refuse to acknowledge. Long-term success comes from living with short-term clarity. Your life is made of days. That's all you get. So if you want to build something meaningful, start there. What does a powerful day look like for you? What does a focused afternoon feel like? What kind of evening helps you rest and recharge? Don't leave it to chance. Build it with care. Most importantly, stop waiting for motivation. Motivation comes and goes. What stays is your structure. What stays is your habit of showing up even when you don't feel like it. That's where real growth is built. Not in inspiration, but in discipline. If you design your days with purpose, your future will take care of itself. This isn't about being rigid, it's about being aligned. When your day matches your values, you don't need force. You move naturally. You wake up with clarity. You end the day with peace. That's the kind of life worth building. And it starts with how you live today. Not tomorrow. Not next month. Today. Right now. One good day at a time. That's how you build a strong life. That's how long-term growth becomes real.
Chapter 10. Choose direction over confusion in 2026. There comes a point when trying to figure everything out becomes the reason nothing gets done. People spend so much time sitting in confusion, overthinking every step, doubting their own choices, comparing paths, hesitating on decisions, asking for too much advice, and wondering if the timing is right. The truth is, confusion is not always a lack of clarity. Sometimes it's a lack of commitment. In 2026, you don't need more opinions. You don't need more information. You need direction. Not the perfect one. Just one you're willing to walk. There's a cost to staying stuck in indecision. You burn time. You burn mental energy. You say, "I don't know," so often that eventually you believe it. And when you start believing that you don't know what to do, you stop trusting yourself to move. That's how life gets paused. Not by failure but by hesitation. And too much hesitation becomes a habit. Choosing direction doesn't mean you'll never question yourself. It means you finally decide to move forward anyway. It means you stop waiting for permission. It means you stop waiting to feel ready. It means you choose a path because you're tired of spinning in circles. Forward is where confidence builds. Forward is where answers show up, but you only find it when you stop trying to avoid risk. The truth is, no direction is perfect. Every path comes with uncertainty. Every goal comes with some level of discomfort. Every dream requires something from you before it rewards you. And that's why so many people stay stuck. Not because they can't do the work, but because they fear picking the wrong path. But the worst choice isn't the wrong one. It's no choice at all. Start simple. Ask yourself what kind of life you want to live. Not someday, but this year. What kind of energy do you want to wake up with? What kind of work do you want to be proud of? What kind of people do you want to build with? What kind of strength do you want to carry through your day? Don't complicate this with strategy. Focus on feeling. Focus on alignment. When something feels like a real yes deep inside, pay attention. Then ask what direction matches that. Maybe it's a career shift. Maybe it's stepping into a leadership role. Maybe it's finally focusing on your health. Maybe it's rebuilding relationships that matter. Maybe it's learning a new skill you've put off. You don't need 10 directions. You need one. And once you find that one, let everything else be background noise. Direction is not about speed. It's about intention. You can move slowly and still be ahead of the person standing still trying to think through every scenario. You don't have to rush. You just have to start. Start with what you know.
Start with what you can control. Start with the habits that support your growth, the people who see your potential, the routines that keep your mind focused. In 2026, if you want clarity, stop chasing it like a finish line and start creating it like a habit. Clarity is not a thought. It's the result of action. The more you act, the more you learn, the more you move, the more the road reveals itself. But when you sit back waiting for certainty, all you get is more doubt. One powerful shift you can make this year is changing your language. Stop saying "I don't know what to do" and start saying "I'm choosing to figure it out." That one change puts you in control. Confusion is passive. Direction is active. You're not stuck. You're just delaying. And you can stop delaying by making one clear decision right now. I will stop overcomplicating my life and start showing up for it fully. Create structure that supports your direction. Don't just wish for change. Make room for it. Set clear goals. Design your week. Block your time. Protect your energy. Make decisions that match your priorities. That's how direction becomes real, not by accident, but by design. Limit the amount of voices you let into your life. Not everyone needs to weigh in on your journey. Too many opinions create confusion, not confidence. Choose a few voices you trust. People who've done what you're trying to do. People who hold you to a higher standard. People who speak with clarity, not fear. Then listen, reflect, and move. The final choice is always yours. You don't need perfect certainty. You need courage. You need to believe that you are strong enough to handle what happens next, that you'll figure things out as you go, that you won't crumble the moment it gets uncomfortable, because discomfort doesn't mean wrong. It often means you're growing. Most people overestimate what they need to start, and underestimate what they'll gain by simply committing. Your mind becomes clearer the moment you stop entertaining everything and start focusing on something. Confusion fades when commitment rises, and commitment begins with action. Not just thinking, not just planning, but doing. Protect your direction from distraction. Distraction doesn't always look like laziness. Sometimes it looks like jumping to new ideas every week. It looks like chasing too many goals. It looks like changing your mind every time it gets difficult. That kind of behavior doesn't create progress. It keeps you in motion without moving forward. Choose one thing, see it through. Let results come from depth, not noise. In 2026, choose to simplify. Choose fewer goals with deeper focus. Choose peace over pressure. Choose habits over hype. Choose structure over chaos. Choose clarity over confusion. Choose action over hesitation. This year doesn't have to look like last year. You get to write a new story, one decision at a time. Start asking better questions. Not what if I fail, but what if I never try? Not what if it's hard, but what if it's worth it? Not what if I choose wrong, but what if choosing something changes everything? Those questions shift your mindset. They open doors. They invite growth. Remember, you don't need more time to decide. You need more trust in your ability to adjust. You are capable of making strong decisions and handling what comes next. You're not fragile. You're not lost. You've just been overthinking, and now it's time to choose your direction and move with it. This is your year to lead yourself. No one else is coming to do it for you. Choose the habits that support you. Choose the mindset that empowers you. Choose the actions that align with who you want to become. Confusion is loud, but direction is powerful. And once you choose it, you begin to feel different, clearer, stronger, focused, and finally free to move forward with purpose.